Indiana is the American Midwestern state known for a very famous race car race, being the birthplace of Michael Jackson, and of course a sandwich that maybe you haven't heard of yet. Indianans, or Hoosiers as they're called, are known for making a very delicious, very simple, and very, very, very jumbo sandwich. Welcome back to Cooking the States, a series where we cook a famous dish from a different state in every episode in an attempt to better understand the true identity of American food. My friends and I were recently at the Indiana Dunes and came across a local drive-in that, lo and behold, had a pork tenderloin sandwich on the menu.
The GPT! Let's go, dude!
I couldn't pass the chance to gain insights from a primary source, so we stopped by for a quick bite. The sandwich was big, but not as big as they told me they were. The toppings were minimal, but I gotta keep it real, the sandwich was great, and it honestly sort of tasted like a McChicken.
McChicky. Yeah.
McPork. After getting what we needed, we slammed the Green Rivers and headed back home to the city. So when we went to Indiana and tried our pork sandos, they gave us these burger buns, which they're, it's good and fine, but to pay homage to the German ancestry of this delicacy, we are going to make Kaiser Rolls. To the bowl of a stand mixer, add 180 grams of 105-degree Fahrenheit water, 5 grams of active dry yeast, and 8 grams of cane sugar. Mix that around and let the yeast activate for 5 minutes. Once bubbly, crack in a whole egg, dump in 360 grams of bread flour, and add 4 grams of kosher salt. Attach the dough hook, then knead on medium speed until the dough comes together into a shaggy mass. Begin incrementally dropping in 2 tablespoons of tempered, unsalted butter. Add 1 tablespoon of butter at a time, waiting to add the next tablespoon until the first one is fully incorporated and blended into the dough. Knead the dough for a few more minutes on medium-high speed until it turns smooth and it passes what's called the window test, meaning that it can be stretched easily to allow light to pass through it. Remove the dough from the stand mixer bowl, roll it into a ball on the counter, then add it back to that bowl, cover with plastic wrap, and let it rise for 1 hour at room temperature until roughly doubled in size. After an hour of resting, dust your work surface and turn the dough out onto the counter. Weigh it, then divide it into 6 equal pieces. Roll each piece of dough into a log shape, using the tips of your fingers to roll it back into itself, sort of as you push inwards to create that surface tension. Alright, Kaiser Rolls. You can buy these cutesy little prints where you can stab them into your finished roll, but you don't need to go out and buy that. We're going to do a simple technique where we basically tie these into knots and shape them ourselves. Oh! To shape, roll each log to about 12 inches long. Tie the dough rope into a standard knot, making sure that the knot is in the middle of the rope. Then use your fingers to work the dough rope around itself to form a perfect little cutesy pumpkin-shaped Kaiser roll. Land each finished roll on a silpat or parchment paper-lined baking tray, then rinse and repeat with the remaining dough. Dust the dough liberally with flour here, or tying the knot can get really challenging, trust me. Now we are going to egg wash not once, but twice for extra glossy rolls, and all I'm using are 3 to 4 egg yolks and a dash of water. Brush the egg wash onto each roll until fully coated, then let rest uncovered for another hour. The rolls are going to double in size and will not dry out because of their moist coating of a fatty egg wash. After 30 minutes of rising, sort of in the middle, preheat the oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. After the rolls have rested, gently brush more egg wash onto each roll, then optionally sprinkle a small handful of poppy seeds on the whole thing. And honestly, I say optional, but it's really not optional. The poppy seeds really make the buns a lot better. Bake the rolls for 15 minutes until perfectly GB, then remove them from the heat dungeon and let them rest for at least 30 minutes before you slice into them. Okay, Kaiser Rolls donezo. Let's talk piggy. This is a pork loin. It's a lean and tender cut that comes from the back of the animal. Use a sharp knife to remove any excess fat and trim away any visible silver skin. To make pork sando ready cutlets, we're going to slice 2-inch thick pieces from the loin. Then slice in the middle of that cutlet about 3/4 of the way down before hitting the cutting board. Open her up and you should be left with a perfectly butterflied piece o' piggy. Now, I wasn't aware of this until recently, but according to a couple of Hoosier omnivores, the rule for the pork tenderloin sandwich is that the cutlet must be at least twice the size of the bun itself. But I'm gonna do you one better and go for 3 or 4 times the size of that bun with the remaining half of the roast. To get these cutlets ready for the fryer, we need to bash them with a hammer. Literally. But first, use a spray bottle or just your fingers to spritz some water into a large durable plastic bag. This is going to help the cutlets spread out without breaking and also keep the bag from breaking easily. Traditionally, they run these cutlets through a cuber, which kind of like manually tenderizes it, which is what we're gonna do with this here hammer. We're not gonna use the flat side, we're gonna use the textured side in this case. Make Odin proud and Thor jealous by pounding evenly around the whole cutlet until you reach about a ½ inch thickness all over. It's time for the Mando porker. I'm just going to do the same thing for these XL cutlets and, quotes around cutlets because this thing is big. I'm actually going to leave these larger ones a bit thicker. To make the pork even more tender than it already is, we're going to marinate it. I'm making enough marinade for 8 pounds of piggy, which I understand is a hefty amount, so feel free to divide these measurements down to fit your serving size needs. To a large bowl with the cutlets inside, add 8 cups of buttermilk, 3 whole eggs, then a hefty pinch of salt and a whole bunch of black pepper. Cover, then let the cutlets marinate in the fridge for at least 2 hours or up to overnight. Now, the breadcrumb situation here can go a number of ways. I've chosen to use regular old American breadcrumbs. However, to get that ultra-fine schnitzel-like breading, we need to blend the 4 cups of breadcrumbs into a fine sand-like powder, which I'm going to do in my trusty old food processor. And while we have that out, let's blend the remaining 9 whole eggs with a 1/4 cup of water, and that's just going to be our egg wash, and we're going to use that for the breadcrumb coating too. You can see on the left, these are the super fine breadcrumbs, and on the right are the unprocessed ones that are just ever so slightly coarser. I know it seems like a whole to-do, but trust me, this makes a big difference. Once the cutlets are finished marinating, remove them from the liquid and pat dry with paper towels. Oh, and because every good sando needs a good side, and since we're busting out the fryer, we're gonna make some potato chips. These are just some russet patartars that I've sliced thin on a mandolin, and we're gonna fry them once the cutlets are out of the way. Okay, back to the porker. Using a spray bottle, spritz each dry cutlet twice on both sides with water before lowering them into our dry, wet, dry station of breadcrumbs, egg wash, then finally all-purpose flour. Lower each cutlet into a preheated 350° Fahrenheit neutral oil and fry for, 5 to 8 minutes or until beautifully GB. Golden brown. The time's of course going to vary depending on the size of your cutlets, so, keep that in mind.
That's like a portal to a different dimension. To Indiana.
A portal to Indiana. It kinda looks like it. No, it looks like Africa. For our mega schnitzels, this thing's not gonna cut it, so I went out and bought something a little special just for the occasion. A massive rondo. I'm going to do the exact same thing, but on a larger scale, with these Mondo cutlets that we banged out earlier. Now, am I taking this whole twice as big as the bun thing a little too seriously? Perhaps, but, it makes for good TV. And here at Omnivorous, and we are all about good TV, let me tell you. Damn! Don't forget to season the cutlets as they come out of the hot oil, and now we are RTV. Ready to build. Start by laying a Kaiser roll down and slice it in half. Spread on some mayo, then lay the cutlet on top. Followed by our fresh onion slices, tomatoes, shreddis, aka shredded lettuce, and finally yellow mustard. Taking another look at it, we probably would have hit that double-sized mark without the Mondo cutlets, but, we've come this far, so. All right, all done. There she blows. Serve that pork tenderloin sandwich with a side of crispy chips, and you, my friend, are in business. Well, one thing that does not come to mind, one word that does not come to mind is manageable. Because this, my friends, is not, but it does look really good. That's good stuff. It's definitely like the American version of a schnitzel. It's a little thicker. Usually schnitzels are like very thin. But, all in all, this is very much German x-American energy, and I'm all about it. It's super odd because Northwest Indiana is very close geographically to Chicago. It does not take very long to cross into the state from Chicago. Where I grew up, I'd actually go down there a lot with my family to see family friends as a kid. Fun fact, my first rated R movie I ever saw was in Indiana. It was Blade, the first Blade. I think it's 1999. Yeah, young Wesley Snipes doesn't get much better than that. One of my fondest memories as a wee lad was stomping around in this like massive marshy swamp pond thing, catching these massive frogs. God, what a great day. Blade and massive frogs. That's Indi, baby. Anyways, enough reminiscing from me. Next episode, we are heading right smack dab into the center of the country to a little state known for corn, fields, and corn and more fields. That's right, we're heading to Iowa, baby. I don't know why I did that accent. That is not an Iowa accent. Whatever. If you dug the video, please hit like for me. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We just hit 100,000 subscribers, so if you're new here, welcome. Thank you so much. Big things coming to the channel. More of this, more future stuff. I love you all, and I shall see you very soon.